turned some stuff down. Let's see.
Did it just restart the stream?
Nope.
Oh.
Don't think so. What did it do?
It's only at 12 seconds there.
Oh, it might have restarted the stream. Let's see if the stream...
I'm not ready. Game over.
Oh.
What is everybody's ideal tank dimensions? Like mine was basically as big as I could fit without getting too crazy. So mine's going to be 108 inches, which is 9 feet by 40 inches front to back by 26 high. We did in the water. Back on.
Yes, it did. Is the stream dead? Or are we back? This is like the worst stream ever.
Those are nice ZOANTHIDS.
Offering.
Oh, I think you're back. Yeah, we're one item behind.
Okay. Little weird.
Wrecked. Two fleas keeping everybody entertained.
So I don't see his though.
That one doesn't even show up.
Yeah, that doesn't even show up on mine.
Yeah, we were cut off from the outer world for a little while there.
Is that a different stream altogether? I think that's like a different stream.
Were we running 2 streams?
No, like I think this stream's like Dunzo.
Did we just skip dimensions? Are we in a multiverse now?
Yeah. Okay.
Will was shooting me messages. Let's see. Yeah, he said that a new stream had started.
Okay, so I'm just ending that one. So there might be another one. Let's check. There might be.
YouTube. Oh, it looks like you're live again.
Am I live on a different stream now?
Restarted, 10-minute countdown.
Okay, so that's just a different thing altogether. So bizarro. All right, I'm gonna go to the YouTube studio thingy.
Yes, it's alive. This is it right here.
Okay.
It's live again.
Interesting. Okay, I need to find a link to that so I can send the chat over to there. So videos. So hold on a sec, you guys. So for the previous viewers, I need to send you guys to the current live stream.
Stay with us through the various timelines.
Yeah. Not exactly sure how that happened. That's interesting. All right. Wow, guys, I must have tempted the YouTube stream gods there, because we definitely went someplace interesting. I think his phone is still making noise. All right, that was something. That was something. Yeah. Benjamin is saying, I think someone at YouTube needs to do a series of large water changes. Oh, fun times. I appreciate how calm you remained during this chaos. Trust me, like I said, I've seen a lot of weird stuff. And you know what's even weirder? Like, why is my stream health like okay now? It's very bizarre. All right, let me see if I can catch up on this stream. Let's see. Okay, Jake George, lots of beautiful Zoas. Am I weird for not being an SPS guy? No, SPS are just one of those things that is very, it's just very popular for some reason, and it's just kind of developed like a cult following of sorts. And so like a lot of like experienced reef hobbyists are like really into SPS, but I'm personally looking forward to seeing some folks with some more like interesting soft coral tanks and stuff like that. But it seems that like right now the big area of interest is all SPS. But no, there's tons of like really cool Zoas for sure. Acantha said, this is the face of a man who is not impressed with technology right now. Hyper true. Because the worst part about it is like, I don't even understand why it decided to not do well. Like, because the stuff that I did on my end shouldn't really have worked. There have been like stream issues that I've had before where you know, it's going like all crazy and stuff, and I literally just like sit here and do nothing, and then it fixes itself. And then chat's like, "Good job, you know, you, like whatever you did, that solved it." And I'm like, that definitely shouldn't have worked that way. Okay, I need to make his phone shut up. What is this phone? What phone is this? Is this an iPhone?
No, it's a S8 Plus Samsung.
I have an S8 Plus. This looks nothing like mine. Anyway, it's making noise.
Oh.
All right. Oh, man.
Oh, it's green.
Yeah, so I was just telling chat, like, the sort of stuff that we changed really shouldn't have worked. And now it's like, it's smooth.
Perfect.
Little strange.
Now the party can really start.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I was drinking Coke. Now it needs to be like Jack and Coke after that. Okay, Nick is asking, did you ever get the right glue for the SPS tank? Kinda, Nick. Kinda. So, it turns out that the very first glue that we tried, that Glue Masters brand, was like hands down the best by far. And I just assumed that all super glues are going to perform like that. And you saw in my video how like we went to one that was like thicker, didn't quite work. But then we got this other one that was supposed to be the correct thin viscosity. And sure enough, it soaked fine right into the substrate, just like the original best one did. But the sand that we would glue immediately starts to break apart. Like it was super brittle, like just didn't work out at all, right? And yeah, so it had the correct thinness, but had no strength whatsoever. So what we tried to then do was mix the stuff that was too thick with the stuff that was too weak. And we played around with that just a little bit this morning, and that did work. But what worked a little bit better was just a different glue from a different brand called, I think it's BSI, Bob Smith Industries. Makes a thin cyanocrylate superglue. And it doesn't work quite as well as the original Glue Masters, but it did work. So at least we found some solutions to our little issue with varying degrees of success.
Glue Masters has got to get back in stock because I'm going to need a lot of it.
Yeah, that's the problem, is like it's sold out everywhere. It's sold out at their website, it's sold out on Amazon, just everywhere. So, yeah, I kind of solved the glue issue. Kinda. I'll take it. At this point, I'll just take it. But what do you call it? We also played around with the mortar whatever that Marco Rocks makes. And that stuff is like, I think is good for like a finishing product to like fill in all your gaps and things and to make the structure like really strong. But some folks in chat were talking about the Aquascape video and saying, well, they just made their whole thing out of that mortar and it's fine. And I'm like, that's great. But that's not what this whole video about the Aquascape was really about, was how fast you're able to make an aquascape using that glue method. It is literally like this, okay? Two rocks together, squirt, and it's solid. Like, before you can set the glue down, it's now solid.
You can build it as fast as Legos, essentially.
Yeah.
Just boom, boom, boom. There's no curing time, no...
Exactly. It is, you can build it as fast as you can physically put the sand in it and spray the glue. Like, that is it. And you can make huge structures with some serious weight in that speed. Now, with a lot of like the mortars and stuff like that, it really does take quite a lot of time for that to set. I mean, you really should be waiting about 24 hours. So they're like, yeah, it's a pretty big difference between the stuff that's like the putty type stuff versus throw sand, splash some glue, and you're done. It's pretty crazy. Okay, somebody is asking about AI primes, thinking about buying 2. I'm sure they're fine. I've never used AI primes.
Were those the follow-up to the AI Soul?
No, I think those were like Vegas, and then primes came out after that. And I think they've kind of stuck with the primes lately. Yeah, yeah, they're probably fine. Like most fixtures in that bracket are going to be pretty good. Like, I haven't used the Red Sea ones. They're probably fine. Orfix are probably fine. The Ecotech Radions are probably fine. Well, I mean, I do use the Ecotech Radions, so I know they're fine. And you use the Orfix, you know they're fine. AI Soul Blues have been like really good for a really long time.
Yep, for me, yep.
Yeah, and even like a lot of like the Chinese black box ones will do okay. It's just a matter sometimes of like customer support and longevity when it comes to that sort of thing. Or if you're looking for something very specific, like if you have a particularly difficult coral to color up the way you like it. For example, home wreckers and Walt Disney's and stuff like that are not an attractive coral if they're not colored up properly. Like, they just look
Dull and greenish.
just dull. Yeah, extremely dull. So a lot of those images that people see online of those 2 specific Acropora, where like they're this crazy rainbow sherbety yellows and teals and stuff like that, that is only under like very specific conditions.
I think they need to be baked pretty high.
Yeah,
Light.
Tons
to
of
get
light.
those colors, yep.
And also
And stability.
Yeah, and stability. And on top of that, it's like they only look like that under like only actinic, like nothing else.
No, yeah.
Well-
It's where you're going to see the brightest highlightest.
Okay, I have seen like one Walt Disney where it was like yellow, like canary yellow in daylight. But you're talking about like this guy's tank was like $1 million. That spared no expense. And so I can understand why I would do so in that tank. But in every other tank that I've seen, including like my own, it's not the most attractive coral in daylight.
Have you spared expense in your tank?
No.
But it's new. It's in time.
It's yeah. They haven't.
Jurassic Park spared no expense.
Yeah. Who's the muscles beside you there?
yeah, muscles.
Yeah, real muscle there. Oh boy. Okay, Dan Potter. This is a good question. How do you combat brown precipitant in your long-term salt storage? Do you have long-term?
Yes, I have a 105-gallon mixing tank that stores the salt water that then gradually gets fed into my tank over the course of a week through automatic water changes. And I use reef crystals, and I don't try and combat it, and it's just something that happens over time, and I will eventually disconnect the storage tank, drag it outside, and power wash the clay. It's like a clay sludge, I don't know. But I've used reef crystals for so long, and it's been so good for me that I do not want to change it.
So we use Omega, which I think got bought out by the parent company that owns reef crystals in Ocean. I don't know if that is going to change the formulation or anything like that. They have changed their packaging, so who knows, right? Anyway, we get brown deposits as well, and it's especially true if you heat your water.
Which I don't.
Yeah, so we actually, well, see, the funny thing is, we, like right now, we don't have to heat our water. Like that tank of water stays at about 80 degrees on its own. Like the heater never comes on. In an air-conditioned building, so it's actually warmer than the air. Weird, but it stays warm. But when we did have to heat it, especially when we make like a new batch of like RO or something like that, it's cold water, so it does need to heat back up. The heat elements themselves create a lot of that sludge, which I thought was kind of interesting.
It is.
So how do we combat that? We drain the entire thing out occasionally, hose it down, and pump as much of that stuff out as possible. That's pretty much all you can do. Unfortunately for us, ours is 1,000 gallons, and we can't just take it outside.
Can you actually get in your tank?
Yes.
Physically, somebody can fit in there?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like get in the tank, Ben.
Yeah. Here's your bucket. Here's your mop. Get in there.
It's like, get in the tank. Like so-and-so's been bad. It's like, Becca, get in the tank. Yeah, she's gonna watch this video. She's like, I quit. Like immediately, like on the spot. I'm out of here. Let's see. So Chad McKean says, I have 2 Walt Disneys almost side by side. One is way better looking than the other.
I believe there's a lot of tenuouses that are out there called Walt Disneys, and may or may not be actually the Walt Disney.
There's, okay.
Because
they're so expensive. Like there's so many
Yeah.
different ones. It's slightly different.
And when they're at just medium light and okay water chemistry, they all kind of start to look the same. Then you get them in the higher light and more stable, and that's when you'll start to draw out the different colorations. That, like the Home Wrecker and the Walt Disney and a couple of others. They are clearly different. You know, I have that bright blue one that was called a Superman, and there's other stuff like that. So
yeah,
vastly different colors. But there's a lot of them that are in that green, and then they develop some purple or some pink. Those are the ones, or they should be yellow.
There's another big offender when it comes to this game. It's those Kung Pao, the Monteporas. We're talking about Montepora.
Yeah, Kung Pao, Beach Bum.
Beach Bum, Rainbow Phoenix. couple of others, okay? Very expensive yellow Montipora with maybe blue,
Maybe green.
maybe green polyps, maybe has like a different colored rim, maybe. A lot of those things you would not be able to pick out of a lineup. Like, they are really, really close.
That goes back to the days of the rainbow chalices that they all had red, blue, green, and orange variations throughout them. And they all had different names.
Did they really?
I'm still convinced that,
I'm pretty sure
a lot of them were just different mixtures of the colors, but at the end of the day, a lot of them were the same.
So I know, like, I've seen some things happen before where you would take like one chalice that, let's just say, is like $50. And there might be one of those chalices that looks like better than another or something like that. And so in order to get more value out of that one, the easiest thing to do was just to change the name and sell it as something else. It's like getting a new job, Like, you could get promoted in your own company and get like a 3% raise, or you could just like quit and find a new job and get like a 40% raise or something like that. It was like one of those situations where it's like, yeah, technically that was just the same thing, but now since you're over here, you're in management. And it's like completely different scale or something. I've seen, it's a weird industry, guys. Don't let it fool you. It's a very weird industry.
Yeah, you learn over time.
Yeah. Okay, Bill Carson, what are you using for a temperature controller? Good question. Really good question, because we struggled mightily when we were just setting up our quarantine tanks, and we ran through like 3 or 4 different types of temperature controls, and all of them gave back like different readings. So what we currently use are like industrial TechMark controllers to do all of our sensing and stuff like that. But that's like an industrial thing. Like, what do you use on a hobbyist scale?
I use the Apex to measure and control the temperature, and I also have a digital thermometer, controller. It could be a controller. I don't have it plugged into a heater. That gives me a readout, and I always kind of check the two sources, and they're the same temperature, so that gives me additional confidence.
Are they reading the same thing like right out of the box?
78 to 79, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the Apex does it to the decimal point, or 1 decimal point. And,
Excuse me.
My tank temperature is between 77.3 and 77.6 at any given time, unless it gets real hot in the house. But the other digital controller reader is always 77 or 78 as well. So.
Okay. Because at one point we had like 3 different devices to look at temperature, and all 3 of them were different. Oh. Even like 2 different infrared guns and everything, and they're off by like 2 degrees. Yeah, it's like
as long as they're all between 75 and 79,
it's close enough.
That's where you want to get your water to, right? And then consistency. So I use an Apex as the main controller.
Yeah,
and I've done that for many years now.
And the thing about that that I do appreciate about like the Apexes that I've used, because I've got like 5, let's call it 5, over in the greenhouse. They were all really close to each other, and one was 1 degree high, one was 1 degree low. But you can just like adjust that, and then it had stayed pretty consistent the rest of the time. So it was like no big issue. We have a GHL hooked up downstairs, and we're playing around with that, and we need to like have a call with them again to like help us through some more setup stuff. But like we got the ProFlux. You would think that like we here at Tidal Gardens are like super techie, and like we can like just do all this stuff. No, we're like borderline paste-eatingly dumb when it comes to like a lot of tech. And like I'm just like looking at a lot of, because like a lot of folks on YouTube have GHLs, and I've got other friends that have GHLs, and nobody else seems to like struggle as much as us when it comes to setting up controllers. So it's like maybe it's just us. Like we don't know how to do anything as far as like tech goes.
You guys are just
Clearly, I can't run a
over
stream.
yourselves. Just yeah.
I've been streaming for like 5 years. I can't figure out why like my stream doesn't work. But whatever, Who's keeping score, right? Who's keeping score? Let's see. Somebody uses D&D controllers. Okay. Cobalt blew up. That's not good. Yeah, I've used a Cobalt. I know I have a couple Cobalts, but I don't know if we really use them. Maybe we used them for like trade shows when we used to go to those years and years ago. Yeah, not so much. Somebody was asking about gorgonians in small aquariums. Have you ever tried to do that? Do you keep gorgs at all?
I have the purple like photosynthetic variety. And that's done well. I mean, again, I just turkey-based broadcast feed the food into the tank. And obviously it's photosynthetic too, and that thing grows real well.
Huh.
But I have not tried beyond.
Yeah, my big concern is like if you wanted to feed heavily in like a small aquarium, you might run into some issues with like filtration
you're gonna need to feed quite a bit and also filter quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I have to run and use the bathroom, so I'm gonna turn over to the substitute teacher here.
All right, let's
so you guys can rap for a little bit. I'll be right
start
back.
the movie. Kids, we're not doing any learning here now.
Stream crashes, whatever.
Yeah. Actually, I was asking when the stream was crashing, what was everybody's like ideal tank size? Mine, part of it is what can fit in the space I'm using, but I'm going with a 9-foot tank by 40 inches front to back by 26 tall. And I also wanted to be able to still fit a frag tank in that area, so that is why I stopped at 9 feet. What do I broadcast feed? So every morning I feed mysis shrimp and spirulina enriched brine and the Sustainable Aquatics dry hatchery pellets, and mix those up into let them thaw out, mix them up in a cup, and then turkey base broadcast feed. I do spot feed sun corals and fathead dendros. But other than that, I just kind of dump it in and knock the flow down for a little bit. Then in the evenings, I use a mixture of Rod's food and LRS, Larry's Reef food, plus more spirulina enriched brine. Every meal has spirulina enriched brine. And again, I put that in there with the Sustainable Aquatics dry hatchery diet and let that thaw out, mix it up, and dump that in too. So that's what I feed, and just broadcast feed it. I've never had to deal with dinos, thankfully. I don't know if Dan has. Have you ever had to deal with dinos? I guess you could wait till you have the mic back on. I have not, thankfully. I am doing an automatic water change. So I would say my system volume right now is about 300 gallons when you figure everything in. And I have a 105-gallon reservoir tank of fresh salt water. And I use liter meter pumps to consistently change the water throughout the day. I think I do about 6 gallons a day right now, 6 or 7. And the liter meters are nice because they break it into 150 increments throughout the day. So it's almost like every 10 minutes, one pump will turn on and pump the water out. The other one will follow right up and pump the water back in. So, and it's just small increments, so it doesn't mess with my automatic top off. So, and I've been doing that for quite a while now, 4 or 5 years, I would think. So that's been nice.
I was thinking about doing the automatic water change thing here, because the way that he described it, it's pretty much just 2 dosing pumps.
Yeah.
Pretty simple,
Beefed
right?
up dosing pumps.
Yeah, I decided not to for the simple fact that just in a work environment, there's always staff. And so you always will do like a little bit of siphoning here. You'll package, you'll pack some coral out of such and such tank there. And so like at the end of the day, it's like, it's so easy just to do the top offs and also like the mini water changes. So you're essentially getting a continuous water change effect.
Yeah.
But that's like kind of like a coral farm. So it's not something that most people would really benefit from. So yeah, 2 dosing pumps and you're good, really.
Yeah.
Just a matter of, how much salt do you want to go through? Which I think that salt is super cheap for what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I just had 7 buckets delivered over the past 2 days. I go through a bucket like in a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Wow. That's quite a lot.
Right now, for whatever reason, Reef Crystals is the better deal is the buckets versus the boxes. So Amazon would only let me order 3 at a time, so I ended up getting 4 more from Chewy because they were at $40 a bucket too. So
I heard somebody talk about Chewy. That so this is like some industry insider talk, that they are essentially trying to get market share by any means necessary, meaning that they're not actually making any profit on the stuff that they're selling, like, period.
Bring it in at $40 a bucket and I'm good.
Yeah, I think that's like, for certain products, it's less than like distributor rates for stuff. They're just like, just get people's emails, get their email addresses, and we'll make our money off of them later, sort of thing.
Yeah, get them on the list.
Crazy. So
did the automatic water changes allow me to feed as heavy as I do, or did I always feed that way? I've always fed that way, but I would do 50-gallon water changes a week with a big brute garbage can to mix up the water and switch them out. So I always fed heavy. I used to run bio pellets, and they were, I think, too effective at stripping the water of all sorts of things that the corals like with the way I ran bio pellets. Other people keeping a better eye on them and have a consistent level. I didn't do that. What do I run my nitrates and phosphates at? I'm fine with my nitrates between 5 and 25, and my phosphates are generally between 0.14 and 0.2, and that's if they're higher than 0.2 for my tank. I found that trying to keep them down a bit is helpful. Things seem to be happier that way.
Somebody was asking about dinoflagellates earlier. I think the only time I've ever even seen them is in our quarantine system when it effectively was ultra low nutrient and it was like zeros across the board for everything.
And they started popping up, huh?
Yeah, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's what's got me a little worried. Is I've started 2 saltwater systems. I had a 93-gallon cube, and then I started my current 200-gallon plus a frag tank system, and the cycles went relatively normal, and I'm hoping that 3rd time's a charm with those as well, because I don't want to have dinos and all that. That's the one. There's lots of concerns about always starting a huge system, but I'm hoping I take my time with the current systems being set up on the other side of the room, and I can allow the new systems to run for a while. It's
like, first thing first. Let's get the tanks here from across the country in one piece.
Yeah.
Second thing, let's get them into the house. Yeah. Third thing, when you plumb it, let's hope that it holds water. There's like dinoflagellates isn't even like in the top 10
that's not registering it.
Problems.
That's one of those things, like I'm just in bed at night and I'm like, all right, that's got to happen, that's got to happen, that's got to happen. What if I get dinos?
It's like, what will I do? I'll just deal with it because it's easy.
Yeah. Like, I'll just be happy to be at that point where water's in the tank.
Yeah, it's like there's like a lot of stuff that has to happen between now and then. It's like I hope that like some big equipment purchase doesn't like mess up, or like who knows? Like there's so many moving parts to like a big project like this.
Yep.
So it'll keep you up at night.
especially when you have a wife in the house that won't be too thrilled with disarray in a main room of the house. Although she doesn't go into that room all that often, so.
That's like the whole downstairs though, right?
Yeah, she doesn't go down there very often. That's where the video game systems are, the TV, the aquariums.
I think she's real sick of your stuff there.
Yeah. She hasn't served. She knows of the incoming tanks, and she hasn't served divorce papers yet. I figured she'd do that before I put a payment down. So.
But the nice thing about like having an aquarium with some like nice high-end pieces, if you have like a guy like me, I'll buy it all, so it'll pay for itself. So it's not the money thing, it's the everything else thing.
Yeah, the volume of the space being used and my attention towards the tanks.
And if something happens, it's just hell to pay for you, I'm sure.
Well, that's why I'm putting tile down there, so we don't have to pull up carpet.
Let's see. Are you? Good question. Somebody was asking about sand. Are you doing sand substrate? Or are you going to go bare bottom in your next?
I'm going to go probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches of sand. I like sand, and I'll work my way around issues of flow and everything. I have sand in my current display tank, and it's 8 or 9 years old. And I used to try and have like a deep sandbag or a sand bed, but I took a lot of the sand out to make it more of just a 2-inch sand bed in most of the areas, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so. I do like the look of it, and then we're not doing it.
Yeah,
here.
I have a couple sea cucumbers that I've had in there forever, and in fact, I think I had one in my cube back in 10 years ago. It's the same one. And the sand stays relatively clean. I have pretty good flow through there. You mix up the sand, you can definitely tell there's a lot of detritus and fine particles down inside it that I mix up, which it doesn't seem to have destroyed. I haven't had it. Hasn't been a ticking time bomb after 8 or 9 years. So
yeah, my thing was is just that a lot of algae and stuff tends to grow on it, and it just looks unattractive if you don't like maintain it like a beautiful Zen garden,
Yeah, when I've had some like nutrient issues being high and stuff, I've had some algae start to grow in it, but that only happened that was only one time period that occurred, and that doesn't happen anymore. So I've had good luck, and just I guess the way I try and run the systems, it doesn't seem to be much of an issue with a dirty sand bed. Now you get a bunch of broken corals or stuff that ends up falling down in there, and you got to rake those out and clean those up, or it just looks like a littered sand bed, which happens over time, and
this stuff
then I have
piles
to
up.
get to it and get working on it.
So random thought, we had this leather coral that was just like looks like it just got ripped to shreds, like a big giant leather, in one of our tanks, and we found like an exoskeleton of like a crab, and it's like, oh, this crab must be like in there amongst hundreds of pounds of rock, just munching on this poor leather. And then later on, like we're the guys are like cleaning something or just happened to see this, but that giant flamingo tang just came over and just like ripped off like a 1-inch piece and ate it. And I'm like, oh, that's new. Yeah. We should get some algae clips or something.
Yeah, he's a big boy too.
Yeah. So this leather that's being ripped to pieces is getting eaten by a tang. Like, oh, news to me.
Did you explain to him he needs to stop doing that if he ever wants to get in one of the big show tanks?
I was like, no. It's like, we just, maybe we're not feeding this guy enough if he's going to be eating leathers.
Can't expect a leather to taste very well.
No, not so much. Okay, real quick. Coral S Lover. What's the difference between bird's nest, stylophora, and Pocillopora? Go.
How pointy they get?
They're three completely different genera of coral. So bird's nests tend to be a little bit more branchy and pointy. Stylophora and Pocillopora are more rounded, and the difference between those two would be kind of like their polyp shape. The stylophoras are going to look a little bit more smooth, I guess. But as far as like care requirements and stuff like that, they're very similar.
And PSAMMOCORA will spread like crazy and actually is very good at breeding and popping up on the other side of the tank. It just...
Yeah, so supposedly, like what I thought was happening was called polyp bailout, where they kind of like detach from their skeleton and drift somewhere else and recolonize. Supposedly, that's a less frequent thing than I thought. Supposedly, it's sexual reproduction.
For the PSAMMOCORA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had them just pop up in different places in my tank.
So, Diacanthus is wondering, Nathan, what species of cucumber?
I don't. They're brownish yellow and have little spikes on them. They look like spikes. They're not.
Is it a tiger tail?
Maybe it's a tiger tail.
Yeah. That's
Then
what that sounds like.
Then he's using some words that I don't understand because they don't have the cuvarian tubules. Is that what they use to eat? The little tentacles that come out and shovel the sand into their mouth? Because the guys that I do have those.
Yeah, I don't know what those are.
I'm going to be educated though, because I'm sure Diacanthus will explain.
Yeah, like no, the ones that we have here are just the black ones. I think, just the regular black ones. Tattoo dancer. What makes those specific acros grow slowly compared to other ones that grow more quickly? Do they need more light and flow than millies? I'm not really sure when it comes to that. Like, I'm not exactly like acro king over here.
I think part of it I think is just the breed of the coral. I think some are faster growing than others. Tenuous grows extremely quick for me, but yeah, microlades and millies are slower than tenuous is. I think it's if it's ideal conditions, there are certain corals that are going to grow faster than others.
Yeah. My big issue with acros is that sometimes they'll grow just fine, right? And then one day, like something will happen, they'll get upset, and I'll lose like 3 colonies overnight, and then it takes like a long time for them to start growing again. Then they grow well, and then something else happens, and they just all die back. It's like this ebb and flow of success. So it's like, do they grow slowly, or am I just kind of killing them every now and again? Maybe maybe their growth rate was just fine all along. And I know that like a lot of like really talented hobbyists struggle with similar stuff in their Acropora dominated tanks. It's like just a little bit of neglect here or there. Like, oh, it's a little bit busy at the office. I haven't paid as close attention as I should. One little parameter gets thrown out of whack because of XYZ reason, and now I'm struggling with like RTN or STN or something like that.
Yeah. That
happens so often. So like comparing growth rates, it's almost like, just be glad they're alive. It could be worse. Strawberry shortcake is a microclados. Okay. In deep water acros, sometimes I always wonder if some of like these designations have any like basis in like,
are they really
reality.
Deep water?
Yeah, it's like Japanese such and such. I'm like, really? Are you sure they're not just from the Philippines? Yeah. Like that sort of thing. Like I don't know. Like there's certain things kind of like line up that way. Like even we sold a zoanthid called like a Fiji rainbow zoanthid. All right. Guess where it's from? Not Fiji. People were just calling it because it looked like
a rainbow seen in Fiji.
Yeah, basically. So sometimes you can't like go off of the naming, and the whole deep water thing I think had some strangely exotic allure to it. It's like, oh, this was like somehow different and harder. It was probably just like a different batch from the importer.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is definitely a Japanese deep water something.
I was going to say, there was deep water zoanthids as well. That was a term. And I don't know if it was true that they were from deeper water, but.
I think they were coming from like possibly coming from like the South China Sea, and they were really fragile. So that's where you were getting certain things like really bright Fruit Loops and stuff like that. Guys, have you noticed that like certain ZOAs like that are almost impossible to find now? Like, I haven't done this search, so I might just be totally just talking out my butt. But like Fruit Loop ZOAs haven't been imported in a very long time, I would suspect. Like,
Really?
yeah. Or LA Lakers ZOAs. I used to have endless fields of LA Lakers.
Do you have radioactive dragon eyes anymore? Are you seeing them?
Yes, I do, and strangely, like radioactive dragon eyes are like the bright green guys, right? There are kind of like the duskier green ones from Vietnam, and duskier eagle eyes from Vietnam, but the really crazy bright ones are from like Fiji or deep water, Japanese, whatever.
I remember it must have been 8 years ago, and like one of the local clubs would have they would frag coral, like bring in a bunch and teach everybody how to frag corals, and like maybe it was LA Lakers and radioactive dragon eyes were big at the time, and I think they may have acquired them from you, chunks of them.
Very likely.
And those got fragged up and dispersed amongst the club. And for like 3 years, they were just every frag spot, everywhere. People were growing them and fragging them, and it was, and then it starts to die down, and it's like, but they were highly sought after throughout the country. But like here it was just like, yeah, the market was saturated with them.
Yes, but now it's like gonzo, just.
Hold on to something long enough, folks. It's like baseball cards.
Yeah. I mean, I was a little while ago looking at old pictures of, like, especially things like ZOAs, because there's like such a huge variety of ZOAs, and just looking at all the varieties that we used to have that we no longer do. And not only do we not have it, like freaking nobody has it. And it was just one of those things that's like over the years, you either like you sell out of them, your last one gets eaten randomly by something, and it's just, yeah, so you just lose strains over the years, right? And I think I did a count, it's like 100 varieties of ZOAs that I wish I had now. Like stuff that was just incredible, and for one reason or another, just made its way out. Yeah. So like I think a big part of like what we're trying to do, downstairs in the new farm, is to be like pretty draconian when it comes to what we're willing to sell and what it even takes to get into this building as far as like quarantine and dipping and stuff like that. Like we're going like super hard with all of that stuff.
But always keep at least one piece of anything.
Or more, or more. Because anything can happen in one piece. Because, yeah, that's totally happened. Oh, man. So, I think that the live show is roughly 200 corals. So this is like item number, 146 currently. If you have a little bit of time, we can probably do a little bit of overtime to kind of compensate for some of like the goofiness at the beginning of the stream.
Yeah, that's
just
fine.
to even it all out. Because for the folks that didn't know, this stream for like the first, I don't know, hour was like extremely choppy. Had all kinds of like weird technical issues. I did some what should have been mildly ineffective changes, and now we're in this other stream that seems to work. Who knows? Like my dropped frames are higher, but there's no stream speed issues.
Yeah, we're green.
Yeah, smooth, weird.
What type of SPS corals are better suited for a shallow reef tank? Any, like a shallow reef tank, provided it's lit nicely. They could go at any depth of a 16-inch tank and get plenty of light. They'll be happy with that.
It also depends on what kind of lighting that you're throwing up top, because I imagine that there's certain lights that you could probably burn stuff out pretty easily, like directly underneath it. 40 at 2416, so you're probably looking at 2 fixtures minimum, right? So as long as like you get pretty decent spread of the light, that's probably a little bit more important. I think that stuff tends to get a little bit spotlighty as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would look for like the most diffusion. Were you about to say something?
I think that's the lights, the brief beat 90s, but I don't know what those are. I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
I mean, if you're keeping other coral, are you keeping other corals other than just SPS?
Yeah, don't know. So Tammy, LMT, do you have any larger clams in stock? Unfortunately, clams do not like it here. So we haven't had clams in like a really long time. So I've got a little funny story, and this kind of like relates generally to some philosophies of reef keeping. So I often hear such and such is in the ocean, therefore you should do it in your tank, right? I hear that very often. These are like ratios of chemistry in the ocean, and you should strive to nail these things exactly, right? That sort of stuff. So if I so much as look at clams wrong in my tanks, they die. But when I was on vacation, back when that was possible, we were in Japan, and we saw maxima clams all over the place. Like at low tide, these clams would be burrowed into the rocks, like all around you, and at low tide, the water goes way out, and all these clams get exposed to air. And they didn't even close. Like their full mantles are open in the air, okay? Then it starts raining, right? Freshwater rain over all of this like open, dry, low tide rock with these clams. Getting full on, like it's not a little drizzle. It was a pretty like hearty rain that was happening, okay? And these clams just stayed open in the rain.
And you can't keep one alive.
That does not happen in a home aquarium at all. So yeah, okay. Long story short, clams don't like it here. I can't keep them alive very easily. And weird stuff happens in nature that simply does not transfer well to the home aquarium, and we have to do stuff differently. Those are my 2 points with that story.
Have you ever had an ICP test on your water?
Once we did it on our newly made water. That was it.
I recently did it for the first time for my aquarium just to see if anything was out of whack, and nothing was. I was like, I guess that's good, but why are, the mushroom thing is like, the mushrooms aren't happy, but there was one thing that seemed a little high, but it was not like crazy. It wasn't a crazy issue. I was a little bit surprised actually with as much biomass and corals that are in there, but I guess the automatic water changes help a lot with that.
How long did it take to get your test results?
It's
like out of context question.
Within a week. I think it was about a week.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it went to California from here. There's the Triton one, and I don't even know if that means they also actually send it to Germany. I don't remember.
I think I recently saw something because it goes to unique corals.
Okay.
And I think they just got a machine relatively recently, because when I got my thing, it went to California, then it got sent to Germany before I got results. So it took a little while longer, and I hadn't gotten another one done since, because at the time we were just doing our water source, right? And by the time that we would get the results back, we would have used all of it. So it's like, kind of.
Yeah.
Not very helpful, right?
I did buy two boxes of it, 2 test kits, and
how much are those retail? I don't remember. I was gifted one.
20 something.
That's
maybe?
not too bad.
No, it wasn't crazy.
It's not too bad.
Now, if you had issues and you're trying to dial it in and you're sending a test in every week or 2 weeks, that would kind of stink. But
At the same time, though, for your aquarium, it would totally justify.
Yeah, to try and keep corals alive.
Yeah, like every week, you send it up.
Yeah.
Every week. Like we don't obviously we don't do that here, but we should. Because it's getting to the point where, like, you know, originally we would turn the air conditioner off when we left and stuff like that. But now that there's like corals downstairs, it's like, no.
Let's keep it. Yeah, let's keep it.
It doesn't matter what the electricity bill is because of like what we're growing here. It's like, no, it's absolutely not. Everything has to benefit. It's just for the benefit of the aquariums here. Period. End of story. Blue River Reefs, y'all are wild in these comments. I trust none of you. Just saying. I don't even know the context for that, but that's hilarious. Let's see. Digger Dude, can kalkwasser be added on its own to maintain alkalinity? It really depends on your exact aquarium.
To an extent, in some cases, yes, but eventually it might not be able to because it's basically you're dosing fresh water.
You're limited on the amount of water that you're evaporating. Otherwise, like, you can't just over add kalkwasser, right? So, okay. I should probably back up and explain all that, right? Because not too many people use calc these days.
Reef chemistry lesson coming at you.
Yeah. So kalkwasser is what, like calcium hydroxide? Maybe?
It's kalkwasser.
Yes, it's
It's
lime.
pickling lime.
It's lime water in German.
Yeah.
So you make this solution of it, and what you get is, like, when you mix this white powder into RO water, you can heap it in there if you like, because what's going to happen is you get super cloudy and flaky, and eventually that cloudiness and flakiness goes away, and you end up with this clear water, and that is your calc. And it is super high in calcium alkalinity, and it's like super high pH also.
Yes.
And you have to slowly drip this into your tank, into like an area of high flow. Otherwise, you risk really two things. If it's going into like one location, it can chemical burn everything right in that spot. So you want to make sure that that gets dissipated quickly and evenly. The other thing is, if you also keep on dripping it into one spot, that particular portion will start to like precipitate out stuff. So you don't really want that. There are aspects of that precipitate that is actually good for your tank, like it'll reduce phosphates and stuff, because it'll like bind up phosphates and that'll precipitate that out. But you really do want to kind of like have it disperse evenly throughout your aquarium. Now, the rate that you're able to add this stuff in, you're essentially, instead of topping off with fresh water, you're topping off now with calc in order to raise up all your levels. And you can screw it up pretty badly. That's why, like, a lot of people don't do it, because if you put it in too aggressively, it'll milkshake your whole tank and possibly kill some stuff. That's like a kind of a bad risk. But if you do it properly, many people for many years have kept very nice stony coral tanks with just calc.
So I use calc. I mix it up into a 55-gallon barrel, and then I just have it programmed to, with liter meters again, to dose a total of 3 liters broken into 150 increments throughout the day. So it's a little bit at a time. I evaporate more than that, so I still have a top off with fresh water, but that gives me a controlled amount of calc being dosed to the tank. It does help keep pH elevated. It helps supplement calcium and alkalinity as well, and it's just a supplementation. It's not the only source of alkalinity or calcium for my tank, and that's been nice.
Yeah. And it's one of those tried and true things, right? You don't have to like overthink it as to like, is this kind of the new like snake oil that's in the hobby. It's not.
Yeah, it works, but the nice part with the way I have it set up then is I know that's going in every day, 3 liters of it. But if I need to adjust my calcium or alkalinity levels, I use dosing pumps that pump in alk or calcium from the dosing containers, and I can adjust those every day or throughout the day or whenever I need to dial it back in. I don't have to mess with my calc setup at all.
Yeah, and that's important to note because Kalkwasser doses calcium and alkalinity in a balanced fashion. So if you are having like a dip in calcium or a dip in alkalinity, calc isn't going to fix that. It's gonna you're going to need to have something else boost up alkalinity while you're still maintaining your calc regimen. Yeah. So think of it kind of like a calcium reactor. It's not like a calcium reactor at all.
It raises pH versus lower.
Well, so a calcium reactor is like good at keeping stuff stable, and if you needed to like bump up a calcium or alkalinity, you have to use 2-part. My point there was calc is kind of that same way where it's not good at
adjusting just one.
Right. But it's not good at maintaining levels either. Like it's not as gentle as a calcium reactor. It's like a hyper brutal version of a calcium reactor. Like a calcium reactor, you can't obliterate your tank with it. You have to get really creative. Like really, really creative in order to do that. Not exactly sure what you did, but you really screwed up to have a calcium reactor obliterate your tank. I can think of like ways to kill your tank with calc.
Oh yeah,
in
calc.
Like 5 minutes.
Yeah, calc can.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I've been asked what lights am I using on my new build? Am I sticking with AI? No, I'm actually using, so my frag tank currently has an Orphic Atlantic, and that is what I will be using over the new display tank and also over the new frag tank. So my AI souls have been great and nice and trusty for a long time, but some of the LEDs are starting to burn out within the pucks. So I'm moving on from them.
They lasted 10 years.
Yeah, I had 2 of them over my 93-gallon cube, and then I added, I think I have 4 over my display tank, 4 or 5, and I've really liked them, but they're not being made anymore. I know they have some iteration of them.
6 generations old.
Yeah, I know they have some iteration of them now, but I like the coverage and the coloration and everything about the Orphic Atlantic. So I like the larger panel spread as well. Yeah,
I kind of wonder why that light isn't more popular. Is it just like I don't know. I'm just thinking like business sense because
I've seen people arguing about it's more expensive than a Radian, but it also covers more area. So I don't know.
Maybe
either,
50% more.
Maybe they're just not as good at marketing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it definitely was an ordeal to acquire some.
I've seen some big tanks, like on Reef to Reef, that are using them in the same manner that I'm planning to use them, which was actually a nice surprise to see them. And the fantastic corals and mature reefs using them. So, and I have experience with it, so that's another good big plus.
Yeah, I'm excited to give it a try as well. Because I've got a very specific application for Orphics, but we'll see. That's when that happens, you guys will know. But lighting technologies are kind of like a double thing for us because we obviously want like growth in color, but we also want like good photography. And if I had to pick out any issue that I had with the Orphic Atlantic fixtures was that it had really goofy results when it came to like photography and videography.
You might be able to find settings you like when you have your own and you're messing with it more.
Because like LEDs, like the individual LEDs, are so different from one another, and one of the best lights I've ever seen for photography and videography happened to be an LED. So bizarre, but like I was using, it might have been this iPhone. This iPhone, if I point it at like an all blue tank, will show a blue square. That's how good this phone is, okay? But this phone shooting that tank lit by LED looked crisper than T5s sitting next to it. Like it outperformed like ATI Blue Pluses. Like it wasn't even close. I'm like, they might be onto something. Then I saw the price, because it was like this custom thing that they're trying to launch made by like Kyocera, which they specifically made their own LEDs and everything. And I'm like, well, I can't really buy that, because I would need, you know, like 30 of those fixtures. And it's like, no, I can't do that. So it got me some Radeons. But no, it was, yeah, when it comes to like certain like little applications like that is when you can get yourself into trouble, because almost all LEDs nowadays can grow coral. Like, because we get a lot of, obviously in chat here, a lot of people asking like, what do you think of this fixture? Will this do okay for my tank? Pretty much, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, if you need to take like great photos and stuff, now you're talking a very, very different game. Depends on your camera, depends on the light, depends on all kinds of stuff.
Calc is the black metal of the aquarium world.
Yeah. It's the
Great
gangster
stuff,
rap.
Great stuff, but it could mess you up. It could be dangerous.
It's like Death Row Records in the 90s. It's good music. Might be a rough crowd though.
Could be hazardous for your health.
Yeah, you might go to jail.
I think it's used throughout the hobby, but I think it's actually pretty big in Europe, Germany maybe. I mean, Kaltwasser comes from.
Calcium reactors now are really big in Europe now, as far as with what I saw.
I've seen some crazy nice calcium reactor setups with like automatic dosing programming and stuff. Like, I was like, oh, now you might be speaking my language.
So I've seen those. I don't know what to think about those.
I don't know. I'm watching with interest.
I know another coral farm here tried a very high-end one that was like based on controllers and stuff like that. And he was offering to sell them to me at half of distributor, all of his. So I'm like, I guess he wasn't happy with it.
Yeah.
He was not happy.
But I do love the adjustability of 2-part dosing using, my Apex. I can just add a few minutes a day if I want to, or take a few more minutes a day off if I need to.
Speaking of 2-part, you guys, are you guys having difficulty sourcing 2-part right now? Because
don't add another concern for me.
Because we were low on the alkalinity part of the 2-part. And, like we want to have buckets. Like we go through buckets here. There's nobody selling buckets. Like we looked at ESV. Nobody has ESV in buckets. We looked at the BRS stuff.
Like the dry stuff?
Yeah. I didn't see any BRS buckets. Maybe I just picked at the wrong time or something.
I'm going to order 3 buckets right now.
Are you?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, I cannot be out of that.
You can try.
I think I have a
So I had to do a little not a YouTube search, but a Google search on like, is it still okay to use baking soda for my alkalinity? Because
sure,
that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
What you're down to.
Yeah. So going back to something that we were talking about earlier about like what your tank demands and your techniques about how to go about fulfilling that demand. Like right now in one of our systems, we aren't able to keep up with the calcium and alkalinity demands with just the calcium reactor alone. So we've been using like a doser that I think drops in 300 mLs or something like that a day or a week or something.
They're out of stock.
Oh, it looks like they're out of stock still, guys. I'm just saying.
They have like the little pouches, but that'll get me like 3 days.
I'd hate to like, cause a panic or anything. But for all you 2-part dosers out there,
a bank run. Like,
yeah, there's a run on like it's like toilet paper and baking soda. It's gonna be cleared out of Walmart.
I better get my pickling line just in case.
So you can have to like upgrade to some Arm & Hammer, pay that premium.
I'm pretty sure I have a 5-gallon bucket that I haven't opened yet.
Also, don't mean to cause any panics, but we've had some difficulty sourcing calcium reactor media. I'm just going to throw that out there too. So we're running out of stuff to actually maintain. So you know what? Maybe soft corals are going to be in fashion next year, 2021.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the all Zoas and all leathers.
My panic attack now viewable online. There's a lot going, a lot of moving parts trying to get a floor and aquariums moved, aquariums in. Everything's still happy and well sourced, stable parameters. Why would anybody do that to themselves?
Diggard is like, just when my alk is dropping. It's like, yeah, you and everybody else's, because nobody's gotten. Dude,
I'm gonna put that stuff in the family safe.
All of my calcium reactors are at like 50% substrate, and it's because we simply couldn't order anymore, so we had to evenly distribute.
Smooth it out.
Yeah, it's like, okay, hopefully this will last like a good long time, because there's a lot of like sold out stuff right now. Yeah, somebody just said it's been a couple months, it's been hard to find. Yeah. It's kind of how that goes. I mean, there's just so many like weird little things that have been difficult to source. And maybe it's from this whole like the whole pandemic situation or what, but like stuff you wouldn't really expect. Like, but why calcium reactor media? Or like why that?
Where does that come from? Yeah, how many countries are? How far away does that come from?
Got my first 800 grams for reef powder last weekend here in the UK. Been using the DIY method for a year now. Wow. Yeah, I do worry about just like some impurities that there might be, but
food grade, man.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
That is true. There are the do-it-yourself recipes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're probably going to end up getting some like Arm & Hammer or something. But nowadays, I mean, it's probably like a dumb product. Like, oh, it's like lemon scented Arm & Hammer. Like, what the heck? Who wants that? Like, who asked for this?
Why is it so lemony in here?
Like, who asked for this? It's because you literally have some stuff sitting in customs for 4 months right now, and stuff can't be shipped from overseas right now anymore. Great. Are you doing, okay, because like a Blue River Reefs just brought something up. Are you doing anything as far as like gas exchange goes? Are you planning on doing any kind of like upgrade for that or anything?
Like into the aquarium?
No, for like
the house?
Yeah, because you're talking about a lot, and I mean a lot bigger volume now.
Thanks for another panic attack. No, I've thought about it. I don't think I need to. I don't think I will need to. I have a very open house with air movement, so don't think I will. But if I do, I've looked into either a dehumidifier type of system or an air exchanger, but I've already kind of planned in my head where I would put it if I needed it. I don't think I'll need it, but we'll see.
Gotcha. Because, yeah.
Once it starts raining inside, then I'll have to do something about that.
Yeah, so it's a tough problem because there's two different things going on. One is the humidity that's going to like build up in your house, right? Obviously, that's a big one. The other thing is just like the carbon dioxide buildup in the house and that affecting your pH.
So yeah, I for a while I ran a carbon dioxide scrubber, CO2 scrubber, where you have the media that absorbs carbon dioxide before the air gets into your skimmer, and then it's like highly oxygenated water. It helps your pH. I did that for a little while, but then I was like, why am I doing this and I'm not using any calc? So I did the calc thing and stopped the CO2 scrubber, and the calc provides pretty stable even at night. I also will have a very large sump with a large area for Chato, and I'll reverse light that, which I've done on a smaller compartment now in my sump, and I've noticed a difference in the stability at night. And then finally, if the pH is still an issue, for my alkalinity supplement, I use sodium bicarbonate, but you can also use soda ash.
Sodium bicarbonate is baking soda.
Yes, that's the one I'm using from Bulk Reef Supply. But if you use soda ash from Bulk Reef Supply,
it pumps up.
That pumps up your pH too. So from a pH issue, I don't think I'll need an air exchanger.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, humidity issue is a potential, but right now, you know, I've got 300 gallons, and I am going up to 600 gallons, and the footprint's changing a bit. But I have a couple thermostats in the house that also measure humidity, and it doesn't get out of hand, and like the windows don't start dripping water.
Yeah.
So, if it does, it does. I have a plan for it, but you know, that's just more money for the system. Yeah.
It's like what's a whole house dehumidifier after all this?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm spending more on PVC plumbing than a
We were before we went live. We were talking about just the people grossly underestimate the cost of the parts that go into building like a system like this, because I've been working with my plumber now for like 2 years. I've seen some bills, people. And Nathan was asking, like, so what are you doing in terms of like valves and stuff like that? Like, how much is such and such bulkhead? And I'm like, oh, I can figure that out for you. And so when you sit down and actually price out the cost of like Schedule 80 PVC with the different valves and bulkheads and unions and all that fun stuff, it's a lot of money.
I was just looking at pure pipe, that 1.5 inch pipe. And I was going to go Schedule 80 for everything, and then I realized I needed 150 feet of 1.5 inch pipe alone. I was like, yeah, Schedule 40.
Yeah, and that's assuming you don't mess it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Have to use up more of it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what's an even worse feeling is when you have extra, and you're sitting there looking at that, and you're thinking, every foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is a happy meal.
There's $200 of extra plumbing, right?
Yeah, it's like, that's going to come in handy one day. It's not.
Nope.
It's just going to take up space in your house.
Yeah, you know what's in my garage? 1 inch, a few 1 inch pipes and several fittings that I'm not even using on this tank, but the old tanks had that. I'm like, yeah, I am never going to use this.
No, it's just going to take up space for a really long time.
Yep.
But yeah. No, so it's gonna be a fun project, and one day you're gonna look back and not remember how much any of this costs.
Hey, it is fun. I mean, a tank build is fun and interesting, and you get to think about it. And I like planning things out. So I don't know how many more tank builds I'll be planning out, but I don't. Maybe one more, maybe. So we'll see.
It's a good thing also. It's like, you know what, I don't have to think about this for a while.
Yeah.
I can just try to like do the hobby.
And it'll be fun at some point, like if my kids get it. It'll be like the same thing with like a grandkid. It's like, yeah, I can have fun and help you plan, but it's not really my worry when it comes to going home and changing diapers. It goes with you, and if you want to plan your systems, I'll help you, and we'll see. Well, I don't know if my kids will inherit that desire or not.
Lexi won't.
Probably not. She has less interest.
Doesn't seem like she's all that interested.
No, she likes the ice cream.
I'm glad, because to be perfectly honest, the ice cream that I made for you guys last time was trash.
Oh, it's even better now? Kids,
It's not close.
all right.
It's not close.
Well, I'll tell them that you have
Because okay,
better ice cream.
I was still learning how to make ice cream with this thing, and so I made the guys like, so him and his two kids made them like some chocolate gelato. It came out Wendy's Frosty level,
which was fine for the kids. Yeah, and
that is unacceptably poor for what's capable.
we've learned.
Yes, I've gotten wise in the ways of the gelato maker. So yeah, we'll fix that.
We're talking about this, and they're having like real reef discussions.
Yeah,
here.
they're talking about like reef chemistry.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about ice cream chemistry? We can talk about that too. Like I said, I learned some things. Did you guys know that what separates gelato from regular ice cream is it has a lower fat content, and that actually increases the smoothness and the flavor intensity, because fat, when it gets chilled, actually will coat your tongue and prevent you from tasting both the texture and the flavor of the ice cream.
Well, that makes ice cream kind of disturbing now. Regular ice cream.
And two, please, gives $1.99 for Gabe. Forehead smack. Let's see.
Oh, somebody's building. I'm about to build a 700-gallon.
That should be
Nice.
fun, Carrie. Carrie Reef Talk TV. Are you kidding me? That's a very large aquarium. The tanks that I have downstairs are like, I don't even know. Like, I thought they were going to be about 700 gallons. I think that once you like factor in the glass, they're probably closer to like 600 gallons. Like a lot of volume just disappears. So
How tall are they? 24?
yeah, they're 24s, but that's like not the actual water.
Yeah, that's the actual.
That's the glass, which is quite a lot. Insane reefer. I lost half of my fox flame due to it being under the sand. That's not good.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Do you think the other half will make it? Okay, and you list out your chemistry. The chemistry doesn't have as much to do with it. I don't think at this point. I think it's just the trauma.
You'll find out in a day or two. If it's healed up already, or if it's been 3 days, yeah, you're probably good.
Hopefully, because again, if it hopefully just stabilizes, right? Blue River Reefs, $1.99. Thank you. Freaking love this stream. Can't wait to buy. I can't wait for you to buy either.
If you include it, if you buy enough corals, do you get a free gelato pint?
One of these days, if we, you know, like the biggest bummer is like to actually not have people come over by appointment anymore, because there's so many people that have like traveled long distances, and I feel so bad. It's like, I'm sorry, we have to just bring this out to your car, and that's it. Because I would totally serve people ice cream. Are you kidding? Yeah. Like, so this is hilarious. So my plumber, right, hasn't come over for like a really long time, because so all tradesmen, it's not just my plumber, it's freaking every contractor ever, right? Like I was talking to like my concrete guy. He was like, yeah, let me know, because we're taking appointments at December time frame now. If you wanted to like get on our books now, right? It's everybody. So I don't blame him for not being here. But he did come back to finally get going on some projects, because that's like every day. I'm bugging him. Every day I'm bugging him. And so he came over, right? And a lot of stuff had gone on here since he was away. And like him and his guys, I'm like, hey guys, check out the new coffee machine. You guys like coffee? And then they're like, this is pretty amazing. It's like, hey guys, do you want to try this like strawberry ice cream that I made like fresh? And then, so it's him and one of his employees. And his employee was like, why don't we come back here? Like, it's like, what are you doing, Jeremy? Like, why aren't we working here every day this week? So yeah, so the ice cream machine, in addition to like Like bribing my friends to come over here rather than me go over there, also good. But I'm like totally getting the contractors to show back up more.
Are they coming back next week?
I think he's going to try. I think at one point he was trying to come over today, but I mean it was kind of like a coin flip as to whether that would have happened. But yeah, they're trying. They're trying harder.
Good. Well, they made a ton of progress.
Ice cream and good coffee, and I'm making the trip from the UK. I can guarantee both ice cream and good coffee. Dude, like the ice cream is okay. So this is one thing that I mean, obviously I should know, but it's until you experience it, you don't really know. But you don't know what strawberry ice cream tastes like until you've had strawberries, like fresh strawberries made into ice cream. Because like artificially flavored strawberry is not strawberry. It's like watermelon flavored bubble gum. It's like, what the hell was that? Definitely not a watermelon, right? It's the same thing is true with strawberries. And so when you make actual strawberry ice cream from strawberries, it's like, where's this been my whole life? And then you realize you're literally getting fatter as you're eating this bowl. You know what? Sacrifices have to be made. But yeah, that was like the problematic moment from like, because that was the first batch I ever made, was like the strawberry stuff, and I gave some to like my personal trainer who happened to be over helping out with one of the tanks, and he was just like, first of all, he was like on some kind of diet because he needed to be training for a race, and I was like, just try it, and then he tried some. He's like, oh no, because like this is a problem. This is habit forming. How good this is. So I'm like, exactly. It's not healthy for you, but it's 95 degrees outside, and this isn't good for your body, but it's good for your soul. So eat up. Watermelon ice cream Millie. I made up my own name. There you go. There you go.
A lot of gelato themed corals coming your way.
Yep. So just so you know, I decided that we're going to stick around a little bit longer for overtime here, because I know that like the beginning of the stream, for those of you that like that weren't here for the beginning part, it was like hella choppy for not very many good reasons. So this will be kind of like a retread of the earlier ones. What's the batch size on the gelato machine? It's fairly small. I think it's like 2 pints. About this big. So the nice thing is, even though it is a small batch machine, which is, by the way, perfect size for what we do, it can make like another 2 in like 30 minutes. So it's not like you're completely limited if you had like more people over. It's like, no, I'm just going to make a different flavor next time, right? Okay, somebody was asking about recycling corals. You can do that. We've done it before with just like some dead pieces of coral. The only issue is it's questionable whether or not you're actually getting a whole lot from it. Because the difference between like good calcium reactor media that's like dense and heavy versus like kind of like light waif-ish homegrown skeletons, it's kind of noticeable. So the homegrown stuff, sure, it'll dissolve like readily in like the acidic environment of a calcium reactor. I just don't know if what's being reintroduced back into the tank is really dense as far as like like the calcium and the alkalinity that you're really looking for. We do it just to like kind of clear up the mounds of dead stuff that accumulate. So. Yeah, and we also would do it with like some pieces of rock occasionally, but really when it comes to calcium reactors, we've had the best success with calcium reactor media when we're able to actually buy it.
Oh, somebody was asking what DKH do I run my tank at? It's generally around 9.2 to 9.5. So it's on the high side, but not the extreme.
Somebody keeps correcting me on my videos because I say like, like keep it like roughly close to like natural seawater. They're like natural seawater is like 6. It's like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to accelerate growth a little bit.
I've kept mine at 2 before. So you average it out, it's about 6.
Those days are gone. Luke will not allow such a thing.
Yeah, Luke
He will not tolerate that.
Luke better get some
those kind of shenanigans here.
Better get some Arm and Hammer, because we'll see if it goes back down to 2. Tammy, do you have a recipe for strawberry ice cream? Yes, I do. You take the entire package of strawberries, cut the greens off of it, put that thing in a blender. You get basically a cup of sugar. And
I don't know why it's so good.
And I think it's like a 2-to-1 ratio of whole milk and cream, depending on like how much will fit into your ice cream machine, I guess. And vanilla paste, a little, about maybe like a teaspoon of vanilla paste. Pretty good. Just crank that sucker on, and about half hour later, you have some gains. You put on some huge gains.
Throw some protein powder in there for the muscles
if you want. No, unfortunately, I don't even want to weigh myself. It's gonna be pretty ugly. I mean, all I've been doing is like ordering food, which, by the way, note to self, we should order food. Ordering food delivered, like just some like DoorDash or some like Uber Eats and stuff, and making ice cream and coffee drinks. Now that's been my diet for like months now.
If Corona won't get you, that diet will.
Yeah. So okay, I'm not saying that I'm Warren Buffett, but somebody had told me about Warren Buffett's diet.
Yeah, I don't think it's great, right?
Supposedly, for like 50 years, he's eaten the same thing like every day, which consists of like McDonald's, Cherry Coke, and Dairy Queen.
Hey,
like
if it works.
that's about to give me a heart attack right now.
Yeah, there's some genetics involved with that longevity then.
Yeah, supposedly he eats like the sausage McMuffin in the morning. He drinks like a 2-liter of Cherry Coke every day.
Yeah, I do recall he likes his Coke, I think.
Yeah, I like me some Cherry Coke too, but it's like not very often. Yeah, but the McDonald's, like, oh, I can't do McDonald's, guys. And I don't even know where there's a Dairy Queen.
There's a couple by us.
Really?
Up our way, yeah.
I can't do it. It's like, Warren Buffett, you need to get on some better ice cream than Dairy Queen. I'm sorry. There's better things in this world that you could spend your $60 billion on. Tammy, are you open to come shop for coral? Unfortunately, no. Currently, we're on like extra special mega lockdown. So we do have people come over to pick up their coral, but we bring it out to their car. There's like no in-person shopping, unfortunately.
Somebody asked, do I get an elk spike after water changes due to reef crystals high alkalinity? Well, I don't do large at one time water changes. I have automatic water changes. So it's actually nice because it kind of helps supplement the elk a little bit. But my alkalinity is not quite as high as like what reef crystals mixes up to be. But I have higher elk anyways, so.
Do you hear something?
Not beyond the air conditioning.
Okay.
Such as what?
Like a high-pitched like no? Okay, maybe that's just my ear. Okay, that's not good. That's not good. All right, guys. I think that Nathan and I have to like start to consider our food options.
As soon as you realized, well, we got to order food.
It's like
we're ending this.
It's like, it's time to support the local economy a little bit here, and get some indie burgers of some sort. So thank you guys so much for like hanging out with us. Thank Nathan for coming in and joining us and talking about his tank, amongst other things.
Well, yeah, always a good time.
Yeah.
After criticizing Warren Buffett's meal diet,
Yeah.
you're like, let's get some burgers.
You know what? You know what sounds
Burgers
really
and
good right
fries.
now? Yeah, some burgers, maybe some cherry Coke, ice cream floats or something. Yeah. So again, apologize for like all little technical snafus earlier in the stream. Hopefully, yeah, I don't even know which one of the two streams to publish, because when we had to restart this stream, like it like created a completely different event. So like it like bifurcated the universe.
Yep.
The Tidal Gardens universe for the day. So anyhow, I'll figure that all out. The live sale itself goes until about like Tuesday-ish. So if you missed something, don't worry about it. There's thumbnails of all the corals on TidalGardens.com, and you can check out some manner of replay perhaps on YouTube. So anyway, guys, hope you have a good weekend, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.
See ya.